Hey all, birds on the bat back here. So this video is going to be a modern PSA submission that I have going out in the next few days. I've already got a number of these submissions out at PSA, but this is the one that I've put together and I have going out right around now. These cards are partially for resale, partially for collection. I'll be going into that as I talk about it. Hobby is expensive, so got to make some money back while you can. So the first part of this is going to be these 1997 Collectors Club Upper Deck Kobe Bryant stickers. These are, mini cards. They're from Europe, actually. They're from 1997, so second year Kobe. You can see it's a sticker around him. There's kind of an outline. So these cards are actually kind of new to the market. There's not that many of them that are out there, and very few graded copies that have been sold on eBay. The ones that have, though, have sold for about $50 in a 9 and about $130 in a 10. So I bought a lot of these cards, 60 of them for $250 earlier this year, which is pretty, should give me a pretty great return. The thing is, I'm trying to submit them, in groups of roughly 10, because beyond that, I think I'm guaranteeing myself for 9s at a loss, even though, I expect to get 9s as is. It's perfectly fine, but it's just kind of, my expectation of things. So for this submission, I'm going to be sending off 12 of them. I've got a few more in the box here, some already off at PSA. So that's the first 12 cards, these 97 Collectors Club Kobe's. Then we've got 4 more cards from the same set. When I bought the lot, the seller actually included these without me asking or paying for them, so really appreciative of that. He actually also included an Allen Iverson from the same set, second year Allen Iverson, so I already have that off at PSA. So this card is another sticker card from the same set. It's got Kobe Bryant, can't quite remember, and Anthony Gill, I think it is. So these are 3 stickers. I don't really know how to treat this. This is never sold, never has a graded copy sold, at least to the best of my knowledge. But it still counts as a second year Kobe, so I'm going to send it off. I got 2 of these. Then, just like that, I have a second year Allen Iverson on this one, same kind of card format with, I think, Nick Van Exel up top and Detlef Schrempf in the middle. Again, I don't know what this is worth, but I figured I'd send it off because it's really clean. And then a third one of that format, which I think has Michael Finley and Sharif Abdur-Rahim, although I'm not completely sure, but it has Shaq. And, Shaq gets good hobby love, not as much as he probably should, but again, clean card, just figured I'd send it off, probably worth $30-$40 in a 10. Then I've got a 97 Finest Chauncey Billups rookie card. So this is actually a really undervalued card. It doesn't have the protector. It's got a nice surface, although it has a couple little lines here where it's kind of almost like a scratch. So this card, it's worth about $10 in a 9 or so probably not even worth the price of getting it graded. The reason why I'm sending it off is because I think that he's going to get into the Hall of Fame this year, and if not this year, then next. He certainly has a really strong candidacy. Basketball Hall of Fame is a lot easier to get into than the Baseball Hall of Fame or Football Hall of Fame. So I think that he'll get in. They'll probably up the value to $25 or $30, and it'll be worth getting it graded at that point. So why not send it off in a group sub at this point? Then I've got 4 of these 2000 Finest Kobe's. These cards, you can get them for about $10 on eBay. I already have 3 or 4 of them off at PSA. They're really tough. The stock is really hard, and the surface doesn't really get scratched because it has this kind of, checkerboard design to it. So it's pretty hard for these cards to get damaged. Now you can see on this one there is a surface divot right there, so I'm not expecting much of this, an 8 or a 9, but it's still worth getting graded and, to sell. This one also has a small surface divot right there to the right of his pants. These 2 are really clean though. So, I'm expecting a couple 8s to 9s, 9s to 10s, and if for resale value, an 8, I'm not sure, maybe $20-$25. A 9's worth about $50-$55, and a 10 is worth about $100. Then, these are for my personal collection. This is not for resale. I've got a 97 Finest Deion Sanders refractor. So I went to Florida State. You can probably see the helmet in the background. This card also doesn't have the protector. I'm expecting a 9 to 10, really clean card, iconic player, really cheap. And this is just for my PC. Following that line, the following year, 98 finest refractor of Derek Brooks. Also went to Florida State, Hall of Fame linebacker. Again, this was cheap, no protector, but really, really nice card. One more following that line, second year Warwick Dunn, not in the Hall of Fame, but also went to Florida State. Had 15,000 yards from scrimmage in the NFL, one of the better players to come out of the university, over 10,000 rushing yards, offensive rookie of the year, had a really great career. So this card, again, no protector. I don't really care for the protectors. I think the cards look a lot better without them. I understand keeping the protectors if you so desire, but personally, I don't really like the way they look. So here, I'm expecting actually a 10 out of this one. This one's really clean, cleaner than the Brooks and the Dion. So then I've got a 1982 Topps Terry Bradshaw, kind of shifting gears here to the original vintage stock kind of baseball cards. This card's pretty well centered, very clean. It's got a little edging on the bottom. In a 9, it's worth about $20-25. I got this and the in-action variation for $3 online in a lot. And the in-action's really off-centered, and unless you get a 10 on that card, it's not worth getting graded. But the base card is pretty well-centered and actually worth getting graded even if you get a 9. I don't know what I'll do with this after I get it back. I guess I'll decide based on what grade it gets. I might resell it. I might look to keep it. I mean, I just like iconic cards. I think this card looks great. This print dot's a little distracting, but it might be a keep. We'll see. Same set. I got a Walter Payton Sweetness. Definitely off-centered. Worse than the Bradshaw. You can see the Bradshaw is definitely better centered than the Walter Payton, but the Walter Payton's worth a little more. Running backs get a lot of love, and he's one of the greatest running backs of all time. This card is very clean, cleaner actually than the Terry Bradshaw, although it has a centering issues. So I'm expecting an 8 to 9. It's worth about $25 or so in an 8, and I think about $35 in a 9. So following that line, 1982 Topps Walter Payton in action. Great shot of him jumping over the line, probably for a touchdown here, maybe a first down, who knows. But this card is worth a little bit less. In a 9, it's worth about $20. But again, I don't know if I'm going to get these graded to sell or to keep. It's a tough decision. We'll see when they come back. I really like the card. I think it's an awesome shot. It's pretty well centered, not perfect, definitely off the left to right. But we'll see. I got this in a lot with the Payton base as well. So then we're switching to a 1974 Topps Frank Robinson. And this is one of my favorite cards in the submission just because of how clean it is. I think this card is an 8 with an outside shot and a 9. It's got the slightest tick of wear in the upper right corner, and that is it. The rest of the card is pretty much immaculate with almost 50-50 centering. It's probably about 55-45 left to right. But really great card. I think this is second to last year of Frank Robinson. So this is from my Cardinals collection. A 77 Topps Al Rubowski. And you might be wondering, why are you getting that graded? Well, this is just, I'm a Cardinals fan. You can see the hat back here too. Hence the name of the channel, right? Birds on the bat. So this card is a really well-centered example of a 77 Topps Al Rubowski, the Mad Hungarian. And I like this card. I like it because you can see the handlebars, which is really, this iconic look that he had in the 70s. I think it really characterizes the 70s. And in a pretty great Cardinal, although definitely not one of the more iconic. He was a relief pitcher, but I just think the card looks great. It's well-centered. It's sharp. I think it's going to get probably about an 8, and that's just a PC card. So, the 1978 Topps of Lou Whitaker. This card is Lou Whitaker's rookie. I think that he's almost a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame, although it's taken him so long. With Alan Trammell, his middle infield mate for so long, just making it in, it bodes well for Lou Whitaker because the two almost had identical careers. So this card I picked up for $17 or so. It's well centered, not perfect, a little off left to right, probably about 55-45, but really, well centered example. I'm expecting about a 7 on this. It could get an 8. It's got pretty sharp corners, a little wear up there you can see. but it's a clean example. It's well centered. It's got great color and no print dots or anything of the sort. So we'll see how it does. This is for keeping, by the way. I do not intend to resell this. So, and this card is a 79 top Steve Carlton. You kind of got a lot of random cards in here. This card I got as part of a lot. I was buying other cards and I tacked this on from the seller for I think $2 or so. I just thought that the card looked really sharp online. It's like almost perfectly centered. It is really sharp. I think it has the slightest bit of wear on one corner. I'm expecting this card to get a 9. Honestly, it is pretty immaculate. And a 9, it's only worth about $25, but I'm actually not looking to even resell this. I just think it's a great looking card in great condition, and it cost me almost nothing, and I just think it would be great for the collection. Shout out Mike O. In case, you know, maybe if he wants this card and it grades well, we can make a deal or something, who knows. So going back to the Cardinals collection, 1983 Topps is my the last set that I'm really interested in collecting much of for baseball. I do ultra modern and everything, but in terms of, I consider 83 the last kind of almost vintage set. After that, you're kind of going into the junk wax era, and things, you know, sort of change. But 83, great iconic design. This is the 83 Topps Aussie Smith with perfect centering. This card is perfectly centered. And it has a little bit of, you know, edge wear, corner wear. I think it's going to get about an 8 with a chance at a 9. I'm hoping for a 9. And this is a card that I'm just getting for my PC. I don't have a graded Aussie Smith card. Aussie Smith is one of the greatest Cardinals ever, greatest defensive player in MLB history, and I will debate that with anyone. So just a great looking card, great set. This is, again, another card for my PC. I think this cost me $3 online to pick up. So now we're moving into modern basketball. So these are 1972 Topps cards. This is a 72 Topps Earl Monroe. You can see it's a little off-centered, you know, left to right, top to bottom, but pretty well centered. It's got a little wear on the corners. I'm thinking a 6 to 7 is the grade that this card is going to get. Definitely really off-centered on the back, almost miscut, although you can still see there's a little bit of daylight there, so I don't think it'll get a miscut designation. But, you know, this card isn't worth a ton. It's actually got a little bit of a stain here on the front, but doesn't really take away too much from the card, I think. So this card isn't actually worth a ton. Vintage basketball and football are really undervalued for what they are, and I think that this card, you know, I think these cards are only going to go up in value, but again, this is actually for my collection. If they get grades that I'm not pleased with, I think I'll probably sell them off. But these are just cards that I think look awesome. They're for me to keep, and yeah. So same set, Calvin Murphy, Hall of Famer. He actually only made one All-Star game, so he's a pretty shocking Hall of Famer, but he's in. This cost me, you know, barely anything. It's a really sharp card, a little off-center top to bottom, but left to right is excellent. And this card I'm expecting about a 7 on, perhaps even an 8, but I think a 7 is more appropriate. Just, you know, Hall of Famer, early 70s. This is actually only the 7th mainstream basketball card set ever made. 48 Bowman, 57 Topps, 61 Fleer, and then 69 Topps, 70, 71, 72. So they didn't really make a lot of basketball cards early on. So, you know, this being only really the 7th mainstream basketball card set ever made, even a lesser Hall of Famer I think is worth picking up. Now, same set, Elvin Hayes. This card I picked up in a lot. It's got some edge issues. You can probably see it there. I'm not expecting much out of this card, a 5 to 6. I was considering not even getting this card graded, but I think the color looks so good. And, you know, for a PC, the grade isn't that important. Another thing is, you know, like I said, 7th basketball card set ever made. I might be wrong on that, but I don't think I am. Because of that, you know, I've got to temper my expectations. This is an old card. I mean, this is a 49-year-old card at this point. You know, if it gets a 6, it's really not a bad grade. So same set, Willis Reed. This is one of the sharpest cards I have from that set. It's very well centered, a little off left to right, but really sharp. You know, 2-time Finals MVP in 70-73 with the Knicks. Kind of a really unheralded, forgotten Hall of Famer for what he did. But this card is actually worth about $35 and an 8, so I think that it's gonna only go up in value. But it's a pretty great looking card, and I'm happy to have it. So then the last card from that 72 set, the Dave Cowan second year. This card is extra special to me. I actually put in a bid of like 35 or 40 bucks, even though it only ended up selling for 11, just because I had to have it. Dave Cowens went to Florida State just like I did, and he's by far the best basketball player ever to come out of the university, although, he went to Florida State a half century before I did. But he won an NBA MVP in 1973, was on the 74 and 76 championship Celtics, is in the Hall of Fame. It's off-centered left to right, although still a, well-centered enough card that it looks great. I'm expecting about a 7 on this, and it's definitely going to be, long-term keep. And this card I tacked on in a lot for about $2. It's a 74 tops JoJo White, the point guard, Hall of Fame point guard in the 70s for the Celtics. Yeah, I don't really have much expectations for this card. Maybe a 7 or 8. Not worth much of anything, but I just thought it was a cool card from an early set. And this card, I actually have pretty high expectations for. This is the 77 tops Dr. J, Julius Erving, a really iconic photo. I think this card is actually going to go up in value pretty substantially as time goes along, just because the photo is so great. So this card I actually paid like 25 or 27 bucks for. I think after it grades, it'll probably get about a 7. It's well centered, not perfect. Left to right's a little off. Top to bottom's actually probably a little off as well. It's got a little inking up here, but I think it'll get about a 7. And in a 7, this card's worth 45, 50 bucks or so. I don't intend to resell it though. This is an iconic player. This is a card for my PC. It's absolutely stunning. I think, it definitely got some wear up there, but even if it gets the 7 that I expect, I think that it's only going to go up in value, and it's absolutely an awesome picture of Dr. J. So, following that up, I've got a 78 tops Bill Walton. Again, this is another one I just tacked on. Centering's really good. Left to right's a little off. Pretty iconic player, one of the best college players ever. Won an NBA MVP, even if his prime is really short. Yeah, just, another card that I tacked on a lot. I get graded. So this is a 79 tops. This is a really well-centered, a little off top to bottom, but well-centered example of George Gervin, the Iceman. Again, tacked this on a lot for cheap. I think it'll get a 7 to 8. Just another great card for a PC. Same set, the Chief, Robert Parrish. Really good card, really beautiful card, actually, honestly. A picture of him on the Warriors, which most people forget that he was even on because he spent, most of his career on the AD Celtics. But this is the Robert Parrish card. It's clean. It's got a little bit of whitening, it looks like, up there, but that's actually more fluff than whitening coming off the edge. I'm expecting, again, a 7 to 8 on this card. Then I've got the 79 tops Moses Malone, one of the most underheralded, underappreciated players in NBA history, really. I mean, when the NBA just did its top 74 players ever rank the past year, he was 18th, right? I mean, he's above guys like Kevin Garnett and Dirk. So, I mean, he's really undervalued for what he accomplished in the league. Right, Mr. Fo, the famous prediction he made of how the 76ers would do in the 83 playoffs. But this card, it has some edging issues like that Elvin Hayes from the 72 set. I think it has an edge issue right down here. I think it'll grade about a 6. I think it's still, well-centered, really nice example of a fantastic player. And his cards are actually heating up some. If you look at his rookie card prices, they're pretty high now. So just a, nice card for a PC. And the last card for this set this is another card I tacked on in an order. It's a 1980 tops Kareem AbdulJabbar, Shoemate, I think is the guy's last name, and Larry Demick. Let me see. Yeah, John Shoemate. So 80 tops, really iconic set with the Bird, Irving, Johnson rookie. Definitely not one of the more iconic cards in the set, but I don't have any Kareem cards, and you can pick these up for relatively cheap online, although in graded prices, they're starting to get up there. This is worth about 25 bucks in an 8, and I picked this up for, I think, $3, $4. Definitely something to look at with potential in the future. Definitely off-centered left to right some, but still a great-looking card. Just because it has Kareem there, I think it's worth it to get it graded. And this is definitely a PC card. I mean, Kareem's one of the greatest players in NBA history, probably third behind MJ and LeBron. Might get some hate for saying that in the comments, but anyway, just a great card and one of the more iconic players in NBA history, and looking forward to adding it to my PC. Thinking it'll get about an 8. So, Hopefully we'll get those results back for you in 7-8 months at this point, and looking forward to posting another video when we do. Thanks for joining me.